Hello everybody, this is Ricardo and welcome to this episode of Retro Gaming with Ricardo on the Atari ST. This week's game is R-Type 2, which is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up arcade game produced by Irem in 1987. The player controls a space fighter named the R9 to defend humanity against the mysterious, powerful alien life form known as the Bydo. The game is notable for programming, which was ambitious for the time, with a wide range of both power-ups and enemies, as well as levels of varying design and length and sprites larger than a single screen. Especially in the arcades of the 80s, where I spent most of my youth, I can remember this game being huge and a large queue of people all the way around it, but exceptionally hard as well, though that might have been to do with the arcade owners setting the dip switches such that the level was exceedingly difficult. R-Type is set in the middle of the 22nd century, and the player flies a futuristic fighter with a mission to destroy this Bydo Empire. The game is composed of several sequential levels with a boss enemy at the end of each, which are absolutely rock hard. The player controls a small spacecraft and must navigate terrain and fight these enemies using various ship weapons. The player spacecraft has by default a weak but rapid firing main gun and a more powerful gun called a wave cannon, which requires the player to hold their fire button down to build up power for the cannon. When released, this fires a concentrated boost of energy which can do more damage to larger enemies and can pass through entire waves of weaker single hit enemies. So getting that boost shot exactly right will take out a wave of enemies on that screen and certainly help you out. During the game, the player can also obtain an auxiliary device called a force. This resembles a glowing orange ball. The force can be attached to the front or back of a player's spacecraft, or detached to fly freely. When attached, the force provides one of three different powerful weapons, in addition to the main gun and the wave gun. When detached, these weapons cannot be used, but the force will instead resort to a secondary set of guns, which can be fired by the player, even if the force is at a distance from the spacecraft. So it effectively gives you a second spacecraft on the screen, an ally. The force has a secondary use as a shield. It is completely indestructible and can block most things fired at it, as well as damage or destroy enemies on contact. It can also be used as a ram, either by attaching it to the spacecraft and running into enemies, or by launching it into enemies. The R in the series, titled originally, stood for Ray, as in Ray of Light, in reference to the many different types of Ray-like weapons in R-Type 1. This was later reconnected in R-Type Final to refer to the production code, as well as the term of endearment for the player fighter. The original R-Type was well received by most gaming critics, however it was infamous for its relentless difficulty. The gameplay of R-Type is noticeably distinct amongst the shoot-'em-ups. Invariably, the player will lose, not because of inequality in firepower, but because of the design of the levels themselves. There is usually a correct way to get through a level, but players must learn these by experience, by losing or restarting from an earlier level. The game innovated with its weapon system compared to contemporary shooters, featuring a chargeable shot or beam meter and detachable force pod. Levels were designed to require different tactics and ideal weapons, air-to-air, diagonal bouncing lasers or air-to-ground, and the like. There were many different ports of this game. The original R-Type was ported to the ZX Spectrum version and got 9 out of 10 in January 1989. In Your Sinclair, and was placed at number 6 in the Your Sinclair official Top 100. The Games Machine praised the incredible use of colour and congratulated the software house for retaining the frenetic arcade feel. A successful 1991 port to the Master System was immediately recognised as one of the best games available in the Sega library. In 1995, the PC version, R-Type The Next Generation, was released and also was lauded by critics. The game was runner-up in the category of Best Coin-Up Conversion of the Year at the Golden Joystick Awards, behind Operation Wolf. These very accurate ports of R-Type were released for the PC, TurboGrafx consoles and MSX. Later on it was released for the Nintendo system and Super Nintendo system, and Sega Master System. I've been Ricardo, and this has been Retro Gaming on the Atari ST, featuring R-Type 2. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane as much as I have by playing these old games. Once again, these are not emulations. This comes directly off my Atari ST via the RF cable into a video capture card. I use Video Studio then to capture the image and edit it and put it together in a video and upload it up to YouTube. Thanks for watching and see you soon.